And here's the incredibly alarming clip. Governor Gavin Newsom says he can't even repeat what Trump said on the phone call. That's how eerie it is.
Do you have a readout?
Oh, I would love to share the readout, but I revere the office of presidency, so I'll keep it in confidence. He has quite literally made up components of that conversation. He's been a stone-cold liar about what he said we talked about. He never discussed the National Guard, period, full stop. I would love to share with you what he actually talked about. That would send shivers up your spine.
It would send shivers up your spine. All right, we have some major breaking news. Donald Trump is still typing mad Truth Social posts about Governor Gavin Newsom, as Newsom will not take the pressure off. He continues to punch back, and it reminds me of the quote, "Out of hard times emerge great leaders." Or there's another quote that says, "Cometh the hour, cometh the man." Both of those quotes are basically saying, when times are perilous, the best leaders will emerge to the top. The cream will rise. And I think that's what we're seeing with California Governor Gavin Newsom. The way that he communicates in a punchy, concise, even edgy way. He adds a little bit of edge when he's punching back at Donald Trump. I think it's very, very valuable. And I'm really enjoying what he's saying. So we'll talk about Donald Trump's manic posts in a second. But let's start off with this clip of Gavin Newsom kind of surgically dissecting who Trump is as a person.
What do you make of the president today coming out and saying he wants to protect California farm workers from deportation, given what you...
This is what he does. He creates a problem, and then he tries to be a hero in his own Marvel movie. Did it on fill in a blank on almost every topic, creates the problem, and then tries to do a make-believe as if you're all perfect little sheep, and you're going to go on with it to be the hero in his own Marvel movie.
He wants to be the firefighter and the arsonist at the same time. He lights the fire with global tariffs or with protests or whatever, and then he wants to act like he's putting out the fire that he just lit.
He initiated those raids. He significantly increased the scale and scope of those raids. That's why he wants the National Guard. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of guards, men and women now, being dispersed everywhere, sprinter vans, unmarked, people with masks, running in, rolling over, some case running into cars, 6-month-old kid, a 3-year-old child in the back of the car, left. So, spare me, Mr. President, that he's sincere on it. But if he is, that happened because of you. It happened because of the American people, because they stood up. And that should give us some optimism. Thank you all.
Governor Newsom is absolutely cooking. Here's another clip.
Under those orders, plan to demonstrate on Saturday in response to this military event.
Do it peacefully. It's a vulgar display. It's the kind of thing you see Kim Jong-un, you see it Putin, you see it with dictators around the world that are weak and just want to demonstrate strength. Weakness masquerading as strength.
It's so true. If Donald Trump actually had any strength in him, he would immediately have stood up against Russian President Vladimir Putin rather than allowing himself to get trampled over at every corner. Even with what's devolving in the Middle East right now, what's going on in the Middle East, it shows a clear lack of respect for Donald Trump. Israel went behind Trump's back. Iran wants to obviously hit Trump back. It's just...
To fet the dear leader on his birthday. What an embarrassment. Honestly, that's about as small as it gets. How weak do you have to be to commandeer the military to fet you on your birthday in a vulgar display of weakness? That's Donald Trump.
Governor, you warned other states.
Under those orders.
And that's his entire presidency summarized. It's all a display of weakness. Let's just talk about the tariffs for 1 second, because that concept perfectly summarizes everything Governor Newsom is saying. Governor Newsom is saying that Trump wants to be the firefighter and the arsonist, or he wants to start a problem, then solve it like he's in a Marvel movie. He did that with tariffs on the global stage, but then he also was so weak he backed down, and now we're in this weird deal where China's actually ahead, and meanwhile Donald Trump is tweeting out, Incompetent Gavin Newsom should have been thanking me for the great job we did in Los Angeles rather than making sad excuses for the poor job he has done. If it weren't for me getting the National Guard into Los Angeles, it would be burning to the ground. This is a manic tweet from the President of the United States. There were contained protests in Los Angeles, not the entire city being taken over. There were protests in certain areas that the LAPD, state and local forces, had complete control over. Everything was fine. Donald Trump decides to unilaterally escalate by overriding the National Guard. After sending the National Guard in, he claims the city was on the verge of basically being on fire. He's compared it to the California wildfires. He says that Governor Newsom caused mass deaths. There hasn't been a single death from these at all, and there's been no proof that the National Guard was needed. Let's continue.
So I'm very hopeful this order puts that in perspective, and hopefully Donald Trump will immediately back down. The courts have ruled on the Guard. They will be back under my command, and he'll be relieved. Donald Trump will be relieved of his command at noon tomorrow.
Which is a great win. Now, a court paused that temporarily, so the National Guard is now in sort of limbo. It's still under Trump's command, and we're waiting for it to be returned to Governor Newsom. But another clip.
They call that you might have been aware that this was coming, or can you confirm whether or not you knew that this was coming, this order was coming?
Of course not. Yeah, no, absolutely not. We were back and forth with Susie Wiles as chief of staff, and then called mayor of Los Angeles, saw a missed call from the president, called him back, actually texted him back, you want full disclosure, and he called me right back. We discussed for a nanosecond Los Angeles, and he immediately zigged and zagged into 7 or 8 other topics, some extraordinarily familiar and some extraordinarily remarkable, considering the world we're living in.
So how did you find?
And here's the incredibly alarming clip. Governor Gavin Newsom says he can't even repeat what Trump said on the phone call. That's how eerie it is.
Do you have a readout?
Oh, I would love to share the readout, but I revere the office of presidency, so I'll keep it in confidence. He has quite literally made up components of that conversation. He's been a stone-cold liar about what he said we talked about. He never discussed the National Guard, period, full stop. I would love to share with you what he actually talked about. That would send shivers up your spine.
It would send shivers up your spine because the President of the United States is back in office just lying relentlessly as he did the first time. Here's Newsom continuing.
Not a monarch, he is not a king, and he should stop acting like one.
Governor, when's the last time you spoke to the president?
I spoke to him on Friday night. He had a mysterious conversation with me 3 days later. You can't even make this stuff up.
Except you can, because Trump did. Trump did make up a phone call that never happened. And in that phone call, Trump says he stood up to Governor Newsom and he told him that he's running his state terribly when none of that happened. In reality, Trump is just sitting there on Truth Social, sending out these manic posts and perpetually escalating this while the adults are taking care of it. I don't know how any rational American can see Governor Newsom speaking in full, complete sentences and just, following the law and saying, you can't mobilize the National Guard without me. And then look at Donald Trump sending out these all caps posts, maybe not this one, but he does say, incompetent Gavin Newsom. That in and of itself should be on the front page of every single magazine. If Obama a decade ago had called anybody scum, any governor, anybody scum, it would be on the front page of every single newspaper. Now Trump is able to call Governor Newsom Governor New Scum with free reign and nobody cares. I'll leave it at that. If you appreciate what I do, drop a like. Make sure you subscribe. If you wanna be there for the stream tomorrow at noon, we're doing a No King stream. Then make sure you have post notifications on below. You can click the bell and never miss a stream. Love you all. Peace out.